From running secret psychology experiments to promoting foreign genocide, Facebook has experienced scandal after scandal since it was founded in 2004. Buckle up, as this is a closer look at the dark past, present, and likely future of Facebook, the darkest internet company in the world. Welcome to the Lightning Rod channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos. Facebook famously started out in the dorm room of famed Harvard dropout Mark Zuckerberg. At the time, he was only 19 years old and a freshman at the Ivy League institution. Even before conceiving the idea for Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg was already interested in connecting people online, but through a different way. Facebook actually got its namesake from Harvard's internal student contact registrar, which was called the Facebook. Zuckerberg was interested in the concept behind aggregating student profiles and also had a genius level of intuition and talent with computers. This interest would end up being the catalyst for Facebook's earliest controversy. As a joke, Zuckerberg decided to hack into Harvard's Facebook and collected the name and profile picture of every female student into a database on his computer. He then made a website which would allow Harvard's population to vote on which girls they thought were most attractive. Obviously, this twisted competition caused a lot of drama on campus, and Zuckerberg was nearly suspended from Harvard for his actions. If it wasn't for his genius ability with programming, he might have had to leave Harvard much earlier than expected. But this decision to create a Harvard-ranking website led to something much bigger. In seeing how his ranking website held students to connect online, Zuckerberg suddenly had the idea to create a social network site for his fellow students. At the time, his idea aligned closely with that of three of his Harvard classmates, Cameron Winklevoss, Tyler Winklevoss, and Divya Narendra. The group, who were all members of Harvard's secretive and highly coveted Porcellian Club, wanted to create a website called the Harvard Connection, which was based on nearly the same idea as Facebook. It would be a campus-specific social network for Harvard students. In hearing about the group's idea for the Harvard Connection, Zuckerberg suddenly knew he was onto something. He quickly recruited his roommates Eduardo Saverin and Dustin Moskowitz, as well as his friend Chris Hughes, to help him with the project. The site originally started out small, just as a way for Harvard students to connect with each other, but it quickly grew in its popularity, and within a month, more than half of Harvard's undergraduate population had joined the website. Soon, the Facebook expanded to other Ivy League schools and successfully many other North American universities. As the Facebook grew organically, it started to attract some high-profile attention. While Zuckerberg was a student at Harvard, he met with Sean Parker, the founder of the famous music pirating app Napster. The two became friends, and Parker began acting as an informal advisor to Zuckerberg and Facebook. At that time, the mission was clear. The company, now renamed Facebook, had to expand outside of college population, eventually reach global scale, and Parker would be there to help it all happen. With the help of Parker, as well as notable investors such as PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel and VC firm Accel Partners, Facebook quickly reached global scale as a private company. But just as quickly as it grew, Facebook would start to quickly encounter far more sinister scandals. By 2013, Facebook boasted 1.23 billion monthly active users, making it one of the most influential tech companies on the planet, but this is when its scandals started really coming to light. Edward Snowden, who at the time was still living a quiet life as an IT contractor, would soon turn the world on its head in its understanding of data and privacy. You see, Snowden wasn't just some random IT admin. He was working for Booz Allen Hamilton, a secretive organization that was contracted by the US government and specifically the National Security Agency, or the NSA. Snowden was tasked with working on high-level spy tools for the organization, one that would allow the US government to investigate nearly every part of the digital lives of its citizens, including private messages, phone conversations, and more. Snowden became fed up with the secrecy and misconduct of the organization, so he decided to quit his job for BAH and fled to Hong Kong. Once there, Snowden leaked private NSA files on WikiLeaks so that the internet could understand the true extent of what the government was doing. He also began conducting interviews in which he denounced the overly invasive role of the NSA and big tech companies in our lives. During these interviews, Snowden claimed that Facebook actually had a digital backdoor which allowed the NSA to spy on user messages, meaning that anything sent over Facebook Messenger or posted on a private profile was openly accessible to the US government. Furthermore, he even claimed that Facebook's own user spying activity was comparable or worse to that of the NSA. In an interview with Recode's Kara Swisher, Snowden claimed that Facebook's internal purpose, whether they stated publicly or not, is to compile perfect records of private lives to the maximum extent of their capability and then exploit that for their own corporate enrichment. Following Snowden's leaks, concerns over user privacy soon came to the forefront of big tech news as well as Facebook's many conflicts. By 2014, it was revealed that Facebook was conducting user psychology experiments by manipulating its news feed for nearly 1 million users. The experiment wasn't internal to Facebook. Rather, the service was sharing data with universities, including Cornell and the University of California at San Francisco, to gauge how users would respond to news feeds curated for different emotional responses. Although Facebook apologized for conducting the experiment without user consent, this wouldn't be the last time that Facebook's immoral activities would come into question. Just a couple of years after settling the experiment case, Facebook would continue accumulating a history of far more sinister scandals. As the 2016 presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton divided the United States, Facebook found a way to profit heavily off of the race's many controversies. You see, Facebook's business model relies on paid ads, and nearly any person or organization is able to run advertisements as long as they can pay for them. Shady groups of marketers from the United States, Eastern Europe found that politically polarizing ads were extraordinarily successful in convincing a high number of users to engage with them. Soon, marketing firms around the world were running massive blocks of politically inflammatory ads which exploited the psychology of the American people. However, the biggest of these actors was actually domestic, an American data firm called Cambridge Analytica. The data company aimed to arm the American Conservative Party with big data tools to defeat the rival Democrats. Their main goal was to use public and private online data to construct a perfect digital profile of every voter in the United States and then sell the analysis to politicians. In turn, Cambridge Analytica was paid to use that data to improve the targeting of their political advertisements to specific segments of the population. Cambridge Analytica ran thousands of advertisements with political misinformation, which unfairly swayed voters away from Democrats through fake accusations. Doing so constituted a gruesome abuse of Facebook's user privacy policy, and as a result, the company was eventually suspended from Facebook. However, this wasn't before the actions of Cambridge Analytica swung the election in favor of then-President Donald Trump. The actions of Cambridge Analytica in the 2016 election triggered a wave of questioning of Facebook. Should Facebook be responsible for the advertisements and content which it hosts on its platform? Should Facebook more strictly enforce its user data privacy policy? Did Facebook leak user information to bad actors? The United States government would eventually try to answer these questions by summoning Mark Zuckerberg in front of the US Congress. At his hearing, Zuckerberg seemed flustered and answered questions with extreme vagueness. He never seemed to actually hit the mark when responding to the politicians who were asking him about Facebook's privacy policy. It became abundantly obvious that Facebook was lying to users about how closely it guarded user data, as Zuckerberg frequently mentioned that Facebook would do better in the future without discussing the past. However, as time marched forward, the importance of data privacy seemed to fade away. Mark Zuckerberg was not alone in being questioned by Congress, as leaders of other big tech firms such as Amazon's Jeff Bezos, Google's Sundar Pichai, and Apple's Tim Cook were all brought in for a hearing. It seemed as if every big tech company was somehow violating rights to user privacy, which actually made things a lot easier for Facebook. They weren't alone. Even as this conflict waned, Facebook would soon encounter its most impactful and violent scandal to date. As a global company, Facebook became responsible for spreading online information all over the world, including in the small country of Myanmar. Just east of India, Myanmar has experienced an ongoing crisis for years as a result of its divided population. You see, Myanmar's population is split into two main factions, The Rohingya Muslims and the Rakhine Buddhists who are in active conflict. The Rohingyas are religious minorities and have been persecuted since the country, formerly known as Burma, became independent in 1948, but the conflict was arguably never as violent as it was in 2016 when the Burmese military began to lead a systematic genocide against the Rohingyas. The key to this escalation was, you guessed it, Facebook. The social network was being used by terrorists and political organizations to promote violence against Rohingyas both through posts and advertisements. Facebook would typically take down these posts if they were in English, but because of weak international moderation, little was done to silence the spread of violence. As tens of thousands died, Facebook tried to do everything in its power to silence the scandal, but eventually the cries for help were too loud. Now, Rohingya refugees are suing Facebook for over $150 billion for promoting hate speech, which led to much death and destruction in their home country of Myanmar. In contrast to the problems in Myanmar, things at Facebook have seemed to calm down a bit, maybe even a little too much. While Facebook continues to fight its past controversies, it's now trying to find new ways to push forward in the future. While the main source of revenue and controversy for Facebook used to be its advertising platform, the company, now called Meta, is taking a different approach. Mark Zuckerberg has made a Hail Mary bet on the Metaverse, pledging to spend hundreds of billions of dollars worth of investor funds on this pipe dream project. However, it seems that Zuckerberg is the only one who's actually driving this decision, as many of his investors and team members at Meta are disavowing this decision. Although Mark Zuckerberg sees promise in the new VR technology, which will power the metaverse, very few people agree with his vision. Although this new controversy isn't nearly as big as the ones that have already happened, it seems like Mark Zuckerberg and the rebranded Meta will experience many more conflicts for years to come. What controversy do you think will hit Meta's doorstep next? Leave your prediction